Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into the world of online travel reviews today.
Those reviews.
You know the ones, sometimes helpful,
Sometimes hilarious.
sometimes,
Big head scratching.
exactly, the whole spectrum. Ever wonder like what actually motivates someone to post one?
It's a good question.
You sent us this study. It's called Identifying Factors Motivating Users to Post Reviews on Online Travel Review Platforms.
Ah.
A factor analysis study
Big title.
from the Mercados y Negocios Business Journal.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is this was actually done in Delhi, and the national capital region of India gives us a fresh perspective, right?
Absolutely.
So they analyzed over 1,300 survey responses
Wow.
using, some statistical magic, and they boiled it down to 3 main reasons why people post these travel reviews.
I am ready, lamb on me.
All right, number 1, social recognition and connection.
Okay.
People want to be seen. They want to feel like they belong, building their online
The
reputation,
visual.
all that.
It's like, hey world, look at me. I'm an expert traveler.
Yeah, but it's even deeper than that, I think.
Okay, so it's not just bragging rights.
Not just bragging rights. It's about connecting with other travelers who think like you do.
Okay.
Think about those online travel forums or Facebook groups where people are swapping stories and tips, finding your tribe, even if it's online.
Totally. I've definitely spent way too much time on those travel forums.
Yeah,
Addictive.
it can be.
But isn't there also a bit of like social pressure sometimes?
Oh, for sure.
Like you should be posting reviews because everyone else is.
Right, and the researchers found that, some people actually said things like, people who are important to me want me to post reviews.
Okay, so there's an obligation there.
Yeah, feeling obligated.
So that need for connection can be really powerful, whether it's just about feeling like you belong or maybe just feeling seen and heard.
Absolutely.
All right, connection is a big one. What's number 2?
Number 2 is about enhancing travel experiences. Now, you might think that this is just about venting when something goes wrong.
Right.
Those avoid this hotel at all costs reviews.
I've read a few.
But it goes way beyond that.
Really? So it's not just about public shaming bad hotels.
Not at all.
What is going on?
People really want to help each other,
Okay,
sharing both good and bad experiences so other travelers can make informed decisions.
I like that.
Right. Think about those reviews that highlight hidden gems or give you really practical tips for navigating a city.
Yes, it's like a global pay-it-forward system for travel.
Exactly.
I love that. Although sometimes those avoid-at-all-costs reviews can be pretty entertaining.
Oh, absolutely. I've definitely
Let's be honest. Chuckled at a few.
But it's not always about being negative.
No.
Sometimes it's that people really just want to help travel companies improve.
For sure.
Like they see themselves as reviewers making the travel world a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can see that we all want to feel like our experiences matter.
And, sometimes a really well-written review can spark change.
It can.
So we've got connection, we've got altruism.
Right.
What's the final piece?
The final piece is social validation.
Mhm.
Now, this one is maybe a bit more subtle.
Okay.
It goes beyond just bragging. It's about the feeling of satisfaction you get when you share your knowledge, and then other people are like, yeah, that was a great tip.
Right. It's like that little dopamine rush
Yes.
when someone likes your photos or comments on your tips.
Exactly.
So it's more than just showing off.
More than showing off.
Okay.
You want to be recognized as a valuable member of that travel community, feeling like your opinion matters. And in fact, people literally said things like, it's easier to post a review than to call the company, or I feel good sharing my trip successes.
It's true. It's like a shortcut to feeling heard,
Yes.
validated, like you're contributing something meaningful.
Absolutely.
I can relate to that.
It's like, hey, I might not have 1 million followers, but my travel knowledge is top-notch.
Right. Okay, so we've got these 3 big motivators. Social recognition, helping others, social validation. But how does this actually apply to, like, real life? Why should any of this matter to our listeners who are, maybe planning their next trip?
Well, I think understanding these motivations can actually change how you approach online travel reviews.
Okay, you mean I shouldn't just trust every glowing 5-star review I see?
Exactly. Knowing that some reviewers might be driven by, a desire for social status
Okay.
or validation can help you kind of read between the lines a little bit.
Okay.
Next time you see a review, ask yourself, what might have motivated this person to post this?
That's a great question.
Are they genuinely trying to be helpful?
Right.
Or are they playing that influencer game?
Oh, playing the game, you're giving our listeners a secret decoder ring
I like that.
for the world of online travel reviews.
And remember, every review is potentially a mix of all three of these motivations: wanting to connect, wanting to help, and wanting to feel good.
So it's not always black and white.
No, it's not.
Right. Makes it even more interesting to unpack.
It does.
All right, so we've got those three big motivators.
We do.
Social recognition, helping others, social validation. But where do these ideas fit into the bigger picture of, like, human behavior online?
Right.
Didn't the researchers talk about some theories that try to explain all this?
They did. They connected their findings to two big theories. You might have heard of them: social exchange theory and uses and gratifications theory.
Okay, time for a mini theory lesson.
Let's do it.
Hit me with it.
All right. So social exchange theory basically says that our interactions, even online, are all about weighing costs and benefits.
Okay.
We're constantly, maybe subconsciously asking ourselves, is what I'm putting in worth the reward I'm going to get back?
So the effort is writing the review.
Right.
And the reward is that feeling of connection, helping someone out.
That validation.
Or getting that validation.
Exactly.
Okay,
And
yeah.
sometimes that effort just doesn't seem worth it. Maybe you're exhausted from your trip, or you're worried that a negative review will come back to bite you.
Right.
It's a balance.
Makes sense. What about uses and gratifications? What is that?
So this theory really focuses on how people actively choose and use media, in this case online travel platforms, to meet their own specific needs and goals. So you're not just, passively scrolling through TripAdvisor.
Right.
You're looking for information that aligns with what you want out of your travel experience, right?
So I'm not just a sponge. I'm shaping my online experience to match my travel personality.
That's it. You're being intentional even with travel reviews.
Okay, that's empowering.
Right.
We have more control over our online experiences than we realize.
We do.
And, it makes sense that those individual needs and motivations would make the whole world of online reviews so diverse and sometimes, well, messy.
Okay.
Okay, well, I am totally hooked. But before we go any further, let's zoom in a little bit on those specific survey items that the researchers used to illustrate each of these motivational factors.
Yeah.
I love getting into the nitty-gritty.
Sometimes those real-life examples really make the concept click.
Absolutely. So let's start with that first factor, social recognition and connection. What did people say that highlighted that need?
Well, some of the responses were pretty straightforward, like, I want to connect with fellow travelers, or I want to tell people about my travels, just putting it out there.
Straight to the point.
Yeah.
But, those responses really underscore that basic human need to share experiences, right? It's like we're wired for connection. We're even in the digital age.
Absolutely.
And then there were some responses that hinted at that social pressure we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, people important to me want me to post reviews.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe not all those reviews are coming from a purely altruistic place.
Right.
Sometimes it's about keeping up appearances or pleasing the people in our lives.
Exactly.
But did any of the responses about connection really surprise you?
One that stood out to me was, I put my travel-related reviews on an online travel review platform to vent out my travel frustration, anger, and anxiety. And at first glance, you might not think of that as being about connection, but
I see where you're going with this.
yeah,
Venting online is often a way of seeking validation or support, right?
exactly.
It's like saying, has anyone else experienced this? I need to know I'm not alone.
Yes, finding solace in those shared experiences, knowing that you're not the only one who's had those travel frustrations.
Yeah, it can be a really powerful way of building community, even if it starts with a negative experience.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so true. Misery loves company, as they say.
It does.
And sometimes a good rant session online can be surprisingly cathartic.
Absolutely, but of course it's not all doom and gloom in the world of online reviews.
Right.
People are also eager to share those really joyous, inspiring travel moments, too.
Oh, for sure.
And the study captured that as well. One response that really highlights this was, I feel good sharing my trip successes. So that speaks volumes about that social validation piece.
It's like we're hardwired to share those stories that make us feel good about ourselves.
I think so.
And travel provides some pretty epic material.
It does.
For that, plus who doesn't love to relive those amazing travel memories by sharing them with others? It's like getting to experience the trip all over again.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered those connection-driven reviews. Let's move on to that second factor.
Okay.
Enhancing travel experiences. Do you remember any of the responses that really exemplified this?
Oh, definitely. One that stuck with me was, I put my travel-related reviews on an online travel review platform to tell fellow travelers about the cost of traveling to a particular destination.
Ooh, I like that.
That just screams practicality
It
and
does.
helpfulness.
Yeah, it's like the modern day version of passing down travel wisdom from one generation to the next.
I love that.
Only now it's happening on a global scale,
It's true.
in real time.
Right. And it can make such a huge difference for travelers who are maybe trying to plan and budget their trips, especially if they're going somewhere new and unfamiliar.
Absolutely. But not all enhancing travel experiences reviews are about those nitty-gritty details.
Right.
Some are about sharing those unique offbeat discoveries.
Oh, yeah?
One respondent said, I put my travel-related reviews on an online travel review platform to tell others about offbeat destinations that are not popular.
Like, forget those overcrowded tourist traps. Check out this hidden gem I found.
Exactly.
I love that it's like they're in the know.
Uh-huh.
You know, those early adopters who pride themselves on uncovering the next big thing before it becomes mainstream.
Right.
Let's be honest. There's a certain thrill that comes with introducing others to a hidden gem.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, there are also those reviews that aim to warn others about negative experiences.
Right, those avoid at all costs reviews.
Exactly the ones we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I think we've all encountered a few of those.
We have.
Did any specific responses stand out to you in that category?
One that I thought really captured that sentiment was this. I put my travel-related reviews on an online travel review platform to make travel service providers realize for any bad service experience.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah?
Sometimes you feel like writing a negative review is the only way to hold businesses accountable,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you've had a really frustrating or disappointing experience.
Absolutely. It's like you're saying, hey, I deserve to be heard, and I want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
Right.
It's about reclaiming some control in a situation where you might feel powerless.
It's like a digital David and Goliath scenario.
It is.
And sometimes those negative reviews can lead to positive changes.
They can.
But of course, as we've discussed, motivation is rarely that straightforward.
It's true.
Sometimes those negative reviews might be fueled by a desire for connection or validation, too.
Oh, for sure. It's all intertwined.
Right.
And, it's important to keep that in mind when you're reading those reviews.
Okay, ready to move on to the third factor?
Let's do it.
That social validation piece.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear what kind of responses people gave that illustrate this motivation.
Well, one that was particularly revealing was, I put my travel-related reviews on an online travel review platform to be seen as an influencer related to travel.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
It is.
It's like they're not even trying to hide their influencer aspirations.
Not at all. But hey, we live in a world now where being an influencer is a legitimate career goal.
That's true.
And then there were some that focused on the personal satisfaction of being seen as a knowledgeable traveler. One person said, I put my travel-related reviews on an online travel review platform to feel good by telling others about my trip successes. So it's that intrinsic reward of getting that validation from other people that your experiences were worthwhile.
Yeah, it's a double whammy of positive reinforcement.
It is.
You get to relive those awesome travel memories and feel good about sharing them with the world.
Exactly what's not to love.
But it's not always about those big, epic travel moments.
No, it's...
Sometimes those social validation-driven reviews are about something as simple as convenience.
Oh, for sure.
Convenience. Explain.
Okay, so think about it.
Okay.
In today's fast-paced world, who has time to write a formal complaint letter?
Right.
Or spend hours on hold with customer service?
Nobody.
So posting a quick review online
Right.
can feel a lot more efficient,
Yeah.
especially if you're just trying to get a quick issue resolved or share some feedback.
Right. It's like sometimes a review is just the easiest way to make your voice heard,
It is.
whether you're praising a company or calling out a problem.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a mini protest in some cases.
It is. And the study reflects that one person said, I put my travel-related reviews on an online travel review platform because it is more convenient than writing or calling the travel service provider for sharing my experience.
Just a more streamlined way to communicate in the digital age.
It is.
That's such a good point. It's like online reviews have become this massive interconnected network of voices,
They have...
all contributing to our collective understanding of what it means to travel in the 21st century.
And who knows, maybe your next travel adventure will be inspired by a review posted by someone halfway across the world, driven by one of these very motivations we've been discussing.
I love that thought. It really highlights how interconnected we all are, even in this world of online reviews. Okay, so we've explored these three motivational factors in detail, And I think our listeners have a much better understanding of what's going on behind the scenes of those seemingly simple star ratings and comments. But now I'm curious, how might these motivations differ across cultures? We've been focusing on a study that was done in India, but what about other parts of the world?
That's a fantastic question, and it's one that the researchers themselves acknowledged as an area for future research.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be fascinating to see a follow-up study that compares the motivations of travelers in, say, India, the United States, and Japan.
Oh, that would be so intriguing to see those results.
Yeah,
I bet cultural norms play a huge role in how people express themselves online,
absolutely.
especially when it comes to reviews. Imagine those cultural differences,
Right.
how they might shape the tone, the content, and even the motivations behind those reviews.
It would be incredibly valuable to understand those nuances. Think about it. If we can grasp those cross-cultural differences, we can build more effective communication strategies,
Right.
design more inclusive online platforms,
Yeah.
and ultimately foster a greater sense of understanding and empathy among travelers worldwide.
It's like using the power of data to create a more harmonious travel community.
I love that.
What a beautiful vision. But before we get too carried away with our utopian travel dreams,
Right.
we do need to acknowledge that no research study is perfect. Every study has its limitations, and this one is no exception.
Every study has boundaries, and it's
Uh-oh.
important to recognize those limitations for what they are.
Okay, so what were some of the key limitations that the researchers pointed out?
Well, as we've already discussed, this particular study was limited to a single geographic area, Delhi, and the national capital region of India. It goes without saying that we can't just assume that those same motivational factors would hold true for travelers in other parts of the world.
Right, because cultural context matters.
It does.
What other limitations do they highlight?
Another one was the reliance on self-reported data.
You mean like people might not be entirely truthful or accurate in their survey responses?
Exactly. There's always the possibility that people might unconsciously bias their answers, either to present themselves in a more favorable light or simply because they aren't fully aware of their own motivations.
So even with the most well-designed research methods,
Yes,
there's always a human element that can influence the results.
absolutely.
We can't just take those survey responses as the absolute unvarnished truth.
We can't.
Okay.
It's all about interpreting the data with a critical eye and acknowledging those inherent limitations.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the study's findings are meaningless.
Right.
It just means that we need to be cautious about overgeneralizing the results.
Makes total sense. Limitations aside, I am really excited about the possibilities for future research that this study opens up.
Me too.
What are some of the areas that researchers could explore to build on these findings?
Oh, so many exciting avenues. One area that the researchers specifically mentioned was the impact of fake reviews.
Okay.
How do those fabricated reviews distort our whole system of trust and motivation?
That's such a crucial question, especially now that fake reviews are becoming increasingly sophisticated and difficult to detect.
Right.
It's a real challenge for both travelers trying to find reliable information and businesses trying to maintain their reputations.
Absolutely. Imagine a study that dives deep into how people perceive and react to those fake reviews.
Okay.
How do those perceptions ultimately shape their travel decisions?
Right.
And what strategies can we develop to combat fake reviews and promote more authentic, transparent feedback online?
Ooh, those are some seriously meaty research questions.
They are.
I would be fascinated to see what those studies uncover. What other research avenues did the researchers suggest?
Another one that I find incredibly intriguing is the question of how age and gender influence these motivational factors.
Oh, no, interesting.
We already know that different generations have different relationships with technology and social media, and gender roles can definitely influence how people express themselves online. So how do those factors play out in the world of online travel reviews?
Oh, I bet there are some wild generational differences in how people approach online travel reviews.
I think so.
For example, are millennials more likely to be motivated by social recognition and the whole influencer thing, while baby boomers might be more focused on practicality and helpfulness?
Those are great questions.
Or what about the role of gender? Are women, for instance, more prone to sharing those long, detailed, emotionally driven reviews, while men tend to be more concise and factual in their approach?
Interesting.
Or are those just tired stereotypes that we need to challenge and dismantle?
I love where you're going with this.
Mm.
I can already envision those headlines. Millennials dominate travel reviews. Are they all influencers?
Oh, yeah.
Or gender wars on TripAdvisor? Who writes
Okay.
the most helpful reviews?
I would definitely click on those articles.
Right. And beyond those attention-grabbing headlines,
Yeah.
this research could have really practical implications for how we design and interact with online travel platforms.
Okay. How so?
For instance, imagine a platform that allows you to filter reviews by age group or gender.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It's like using those data-driven insights to create a more inclusive and representative travel community.
Exactly.
One where everyone feels like their voice matters, regardless of their age or gender.
It's about celebrating those diverse perspectives and recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to online travel reviews.
I'm totally on board with that, but there's one more area of future research that I'm dying to hear about.
Okay.
The ethical considerations of incentivized reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier, we discussed how rewards can motivate people to post reviews. But what happens when those incentives become the primary driver?
Right. Does it create a system where people are more concerned with getting freebies and perks than providing genuine, unbiased feedback?
That's a valid concern.
Oh.
Imagine a study that compares the quality and authenticity of reviews written with and without incentives.
Okay.
Do those incentivized reviews tend to be more positive?
Yeah.
Regardless of the actual experience, do they provide less detailed or helpful information
Right.
for fellow travelers?
It's definitely a crucial area to investigate.
It is.
It's about striking that balance between encouraging participation
Right.
and upholding the integrity of the entire online review system.
Because if people start to lose trust in the authenticity of reviews,
Yeah,
the whole system falls apart.
exactly. And then, of course, there's the question of how those incentivized reviews are perceived by other travelers.
Right. Do people generally trust reviews that were clearly motivated by some kind of reward?
It's tricky for sure. And this is where transparency becomes absolutely crucial.
Okay.
If online travel agencies are going to offer incentives for reviews, they need to be upfront about it.
Yeah.
Give travelers all the information they need so they can make informed decisions about which reviews to trust.
Transparency is key. Okay, so we've covered fake reviews, age and gender influences,
Right.
and ethical implications of incentivized reviews.
Right, have.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface, though.
Yeah.
What other research areas did the researchers suggest?
One that I find particularly fascinating is the power of social influence.
You mean like the pressure we sometimes feel to conform to certain social norms, even in the context of online travel reviews?
Exactly. Think about it. Do people post more reviews if they see their friends and family doing it? Are they more likely to write positive reviews if they're part of a group that really values certain types of travel experiences?
Like luxury travel or sustainable tourism.
Exactly.
That's like those classic social conformity experiments.
It is.
But now they're playing out in the world of online reviews.
Precisely. And, understanding how those social dynamics work can help us to design platforms that encourage authentic feedback
Okay.
and minimize the pressure to just go along with the crowd.
I love that it's about creating a digital space where people feel safe to share their genuine experiences,
Yeah.
even if they're not the most popular or trendy ones.
Exactly, because ultimately that's what makes online reviews so valuable. They offer us a window into the diverse and often unpredictable reality of travel, from the highs to the lows and every bump in the road in between.
It's a good reminder that travel at its core is a human experience.
It is.
And human experiences are rarely neat and tidy.
No, they're not.
They're full of contradictions, complexities, and unexpected turns. And who knows, maybe those messy, contradictory reviews are the ones that will lead us to our most unforgettable adventures.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's often those unplanned detours and less than perfect moments that reveal the true spirit of a place and create those lasting memories.
Okay. I'm feeling so inspired right now. I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive with a thought-provoking question for our listeners to ponder.
I love it. We've thoroughly unpacked the study, explored all of those fascinating implications, and even ventured into the exciting world of future research. Now it's time to bring it all home.
It really is amazing to think about how something as simple as a travel review can have such a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Connecting people, shaping opinions, and ultimately influencing the future of travel.
Absolutely. The more we understand those motivations behind the reviews, the better equipped we are to navigate this whole digital landscape, whether we're travelers seeking authentic advice or businesses hoping to connect with their customers in a meaningful way.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of online travel reviews, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to ponder.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the takeaway message you want our listeners to walk away with?
Well, we spent this entire episode unpacking the motivations behind why people post those reviews. We've talked about connection, helpfulness, social validation, but what about the flip side? What about the reasons why people don't post reviews?
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective before. What are some of the factors that might hold people back from sharing their experiences?
Well, for some people, it might just be a matter of time or effort.
Mm.
Life gets busy, and writing a thoughtful review can feel like a chore, especially after you've just returned from a trip and you're trying to catch up on everything else.
I can definitely relate to that. Sometimes it feels like I need a vacation from my vacation just to unpack and get back into the swing of things.
Exactly. And then there are those folks who might be hesitant to share their opinions publicly. Maybe they're worried about negative feedback, or they're just naturally private people who prefer to keep their experiences to themselves.
Right, because not everyone is comfortable with putting themselves out there online, especially when it comes to something as personal as travel.
And then there's the whole issue of trust, or rather the lack of trust. With all the talk about fake reviews and incentivized reviews, some people might just be skeptical of the whole system. They might
Okay.
figure, why bother writing a review if it's just going to get lost in a sea of manipulation and inauthenticity?
That's a valid concern. It's like we've become so accustomed to questioning everything we see online that we might lose sight of the genuine voices that are trying to share their experiences.
Exactly. So my challenge to our listeners is this. Think about what prevents you from sharing your travel experiences online. Is it time? Privacy concerns? Lack of trust in the system? Or maybe something else entirely?
And once you've identified those barriers, ask yourself, is there anything you can do to overcome them? Maybe it's setting aside a specific time to write reviews or finding platforms that you feel good about supporting.
Or maybe it's just reminding yourself that your voice matters and that even a simple review can make a difference in someone else's travel journey.
Beautifully said. Ultimately, it's all about finding that balance between being a critical consumer of online information and recognizing the power of sharing our own authentic experiences.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of online travel reviews, let's all make a commitment to be more mindful, both in how we consume reviews and in how we choose to share our own travel stories.
Agreed. Let's use this knowledge to create a more informed, transparent, and ultimately fulfilling travel experience for everyone.
And remember, dear listeners, if you're feeling inspired to dive even deeper into this topic, be sure to check out our show notes for a link to the original research study. Happy travels.
Happy travels, everyone.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.